This story that I'm about to tell was told by the late actress Katharine Hepburn when she was speaking about her childhood. And these are her words. Once when I was a teenager, my father and I were standing in line to buy tickets for the circus. Finally, there was only one other family between us and the ticket counter, and the family made a big impression on me. There were 8 children, all probably under the age of 12. They were well-dressed. You could tell they didn't have a lot of money, but their clothes were neat and clean. The children were well-behaved, all of them standing in line 2 by 2 behind their parents, holding hands. They were excitedly jabbering about the clowns, animals, and all the acts they would be seeing that night. By their excitement, you could sense that they had never been to the circus before. It would be a highlight of their lives. The father and mother were at the head of the pack, standing proud as could be. The mother was holding her husband's hand, looking up at him as if to say, "You're my knight in shining armor." He was smiling and enjoying seeing his family happy. The ticket lady asked the man how many tickets he wanted. He proudly responded, "I'd like to buy 8 children's tickets and 2 adult tickets so I can take my family to the circus." And the ticket lady stated the price. The man's wife let go of his hand. Her head dropped. The man's lip began to quiver. Then he leaned a little closer and asked, "How much did you say?" The ticket lady again stated the price. The man didn't have enough money. How was he supposed to turn and tell his 8 children that he didn't have enough money to take them to the circus? Seeing what was going on, my dad reached into his pocket, pulled out a $20 bill, and then dropped it on the ground. We were not wealthy in any sense of the word. My father bent down, picked up the $20 bill, tapped the man on the shoulder, and said, "Excuse me, sir, this fell out of your pocket." The man understood what was going on. He wasn't begging for a handout, but certainly appreciated the help in a desperate, heartbreaking, and embarrassing situation. He looked straight into my dad's eyes, took my dad's hand in both of his, squeezed tightly onto the $20 bill, and with his lip quivering and a tear streaming down his cheek, he replied, thank you, sir. This really means a lot to me and my family." My father and I went back to our car and drove home. The $20 my dad gave away is what we were going to buy our tickets with. Although we didn't get to see the circus that night, we both felt a joy inside us that was far greater than seeing the circus could ever provide. That day, I learned the value to give. The giver is bigger than the receiver. If you want to be larger than life, learn to give. Love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only with what you are expecting to give, which is everything. The importance of giving, blessing others, can never be overemphasized because there's always joy in giving. Learn to make someone happy by acts of giving. What Katharine Hepburn hits on is really the essence of stewardship. And it has 2 main characteristics. And the first is to recognize that someone has a need, which means we have to be on the alert, not self-centered or self-indulgent. It's about cultivating an attitude or a point of view, one which sees the other, one which allows the self to look beyond itself. An attitude that realizes despite appearances, everyone is struggling with something. Everyone is fighting a battle you probably know nothing about. In the middle of one's own struggles or concerns, this can be difficult. But if you cultivate such a posture, it becomes easier, and eventually your default way of seeing the world, it becomes your default way of seeing the world and others. The second characteristic of stewardship is, after seeing the need in another, you recognize that you can meet that need in some way, big or small, that you have the resources, whether it be time, talent, or treasure, to meet someone else's need. Now, we can easily be overcome by the need that we see and become resigned, defeated that we can make no difference. But that is always a deception. We can always meet a need in another. Maybe it is picking up the tab for another. Maybe it is sharing your experience, strength, and hope. It could be a smile or a gentle look of the eyes that says, everything will be okay. Maybe it's a commitment of time, willingness to walk with someone through grief, tragedy, or uncertainty. It could be being kind to that young mother struggling with an infant and a toddler having a temper tantrum. Just letting her know you've been there too, and it won't always be so hard. Checking in on a neighbor, calling an elderly relative, writing a note to a friend who lost a job. It could be not judging another since you have not walked in their shoes and don't know their struggle. Whatever the case, you have the ability to meet a need. And when you recognize a need and then you recognize you can meet that need, you will realize and come to understand the reason for Thanksgiving. And the reason for the Eucharist, which is Jesus who recognized our need for spiritual and material sustenance and chose to meet that need with his very self. So today pray that you will have the grace to have open eyes to see the need around you, and for the grace to have an open heart to meet that need in any way you can.